holy name of the Lord. 7, to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name. 8, to consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritual activities, which are offered in the Vedas as fruitive activities, Karma Kanda. 9, to instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy name. 10, to not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy name and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to achieve the desired success, Krishna Prema. Once again, I thank everyone for joining the Bhakti Sanga conference call today. Let us move to our next session, which is Srimad Bhagavatam class. May I know who all have joined the class this morning?
हरे कृष्ण वर्धना माता जी दंडवत प्रणाम श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय गुरु महाराज की जय प्रीति दासी from Charlotte. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Preeti Mataji, Dhanwas Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Vardhana Mataji, this is Kamudati Kasi. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, His Maharaj, and all the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Kamudiki Mataji, Dhanwas Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hope you are feeling better, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Vardhana Mataji, Dandavat Pranama. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Vinita Gandharvika Devidasi from College Station, Texas.
Hare Krishna Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, Dhanwas Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mata. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga and all the assembled devotees. This is Yashamati Priya Devidasi from Chicago.
Hare Krishna Yashamati Priya Mataji, Dhanwas Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Vardhana Mataji, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. My humble obeisances to you and all the devotees. This is Krishna Kumari Devidasi from Raleigh.
Hare Krishna Krishna Kumari Mataji, Dhanwas Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Vardhana Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. My Dandavat Pranams to all the assembled devotees. This is Susmita from Mississauga, Canada.
Hare Krishna Shishmita Mataji, Dhanwas Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Vardhana Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Shama Gauri Devidasi from Charlotte.
Hare Krishna Sham Gauri Mataji, Dhanwas Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Is anybody else would like to introduce themselves?
You can finish introduction, Mataji, before Maharaj comes.
Sure, Mataji. Welcoming all of you to the Bhakti Sangha conference call. Today we are very fortunate to have His Holiness Candramauli Swami Maharaj. Maharaj is going to enlighten us on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 7th chapter, verse number 19 and 20. Before diving into the call, I will hand out the call to Shureshwar Sham Prabhuji to give brief introduction of Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Here is a brief introduction about Maharaj. His Holiness Candramauli Swami Maharaj is a disciple of ISKCON founder Acharya, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, and an initiating spiritual master within the ISKCON movement. Maharaj was born in New Jersey Maharaj came in contact with the International Society for Krsna Consciousness in Denver, Colorado at the age of 24. In 1973, he began practicing Krishna consciousness in New York City and shortly thereafter began serving the New Vrindavan Farm Community in West Virginia. That same year, he received initiation from His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In 1986, His Holiness Chandramauli Swami Maharaj accepted the sannyasa order and began preaching in Cincinnati and Columbus, Ohio. In 1995, he began serving as the resident sannyasi in Chicago, where he was based until 2013, when he relocated to Karlovac, Croatia. At present, His Holiness Chandramauli Swami offers spiritual guidance around Europe, USA, and India. Hare Krishna Mataji, back to you Mataji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Let's wait for Maharaj to continue our chanting. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare.
Yeah, Maharaj is here, Mataji.
Yeah, sure.
He's joining. Yeah, he's here.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavad Pranam, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for giving your valuable time and association to us this morning and enlightening on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam. I'll hand over the call to you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. My obeisances to all the devotees. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Atmanityo Vayasuda Ikushatragya Asrayaha Avikriya Swadrighatur Yapako Sangya Anvitaha Etair Dwada Sabir Vidvan Atmano Lakshanai Parai Aham Mametya Sat Bhavam Dehado Mohajam Tvayet. Translation. Atma refers to the Supreme Lord or the living entities. Both of them are spiritual, free from birth and death, free from deterioration, and free from material contamination. They are individual, they are knowers of the external body, and they are foundation or shelter of everyone, of everything. They are free from material change, they are self-illuminated, they are the cause of all causes, and they are all pervading. They have nothing to do with the material body, and therefore they are always uncovered. With these transcendental qualities, one who is actually learned must give up the illusionary conception of life in which one thinks, I am this material body, and everything in relationship with this body is mine. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita 15:7, Lord Krishna clearly said, Mamaivam so jiva loke jiva bhutana sanatana. All living entities are part of me. Therefore, the living entities are qualitatively the same as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is their leader, the Supreme Lord, the Supreme among the living entities. In the Vedas, it is said, Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam. The Lord is the chief individual living entity, the leader of the subordinate living entities. Because the living entities are parts or samples of God, their qualities are not different from those of the Supreme Lord. The living entities have the same quality as the Lord, just as a drop of seawater is composed of the same chemicals as the great sea itself. Thus, there is oneness in quality, but a difference in quantity. One can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by understanding the sample, the living entity, because all the qualities of God exist in a minute quantity in the living entities. There is oneness, but God is great, whereas the living entities are extremely small. Anor aniyam mahato mahiyam. Kata Upanishads 1-20. The living entities are smaller than the atom, but God is greater than the greatest. Our conception of greatness may be represented by the sky because we think of the sky as being unlimitedly big. But God is bigger than the sky. Similarly, we have knowledge that the living entities are smaller than atoms, 1/10,000th the size of the tip of a hair. Yet, the quality of being the supreme cause of all causes exists in the living entity as well as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Indeed, it is due to the presence of the living entity that the body exists and the body changes place. Body changes take place. Similarly, because the Supreme Lord is within the universe, that the changes dictated by the material laws occur. The word eka, meaning individual, is significant. As explained in the Bhagavad Gita 9:4, Matstani sarvabhutani nachaham teshu avastitaha. Everything material and spiritual, including earth, water, air, fire, sky, and the living entities, exists on the platform of spirit soul. Although everything is an emanation from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one should not think that the Supreme Lord is dependent upon anything else. Both God and the living entities are fully conscious. As the living entities, we are conscious of our bodily existence. Similarly, the Lord is conscious of the gigantic cosmic manifestation. This is confirmed in the Vedas. Yasmin Dao Prithvi Kantakrik Sam Vigyartaram Adikena Vijaniyat Ekam Eva Dityayam Atmajotir Samadhi Hovacha Sarimam Lokim Astraja Satyam Jnanam Anantam Asango Yasya Purusho Purnasya Purnamadayam Purnameva Vasishyate. All these Vedic injunctions prove that both the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the minute soul or individual, one is great and the other is small, Both of them are the cause of all causes, the corporally limited and the universally unlimited. We should always remember that although we are equal to the Supreme Lord in quality, we are never equal to him in quantity. Persons with a small fund of intelligence find themselves equal in quality with God, foolishly think that they are equal in quantity also. Their intelligence is called Avisuddha Buddhayaha, unpolished or combined or contaminated intelligence. When such persons, after endeavoring hard for many, many lives to understand the supreme call, are finally in actual knowledge of Krishna Vasudeva, they surrender unto him. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sadur Labhaha. Thus they become great Mahatmas, perfect souls. If one is fortunate enough to understand his knowing that God is great, Vibhu, where the living entity is small, Anu, he is perfect in knowledge. The individual exists in darkness when he thinks that he is the material body and that everything in relationship to the material body belongs to him. This is called aham mama. Janasya moho yam aham mameti. This is illusion. One must give up this illusory conception and thus become fully aware of everything. Umigyantimirandasya Gyanajana Salakai Chaksun Nalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasnaya Bhutale Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve. Gauravani Rose Says Thank you, Krishna. Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yeah, Prabhupada. Okay. So here, we're hearing about the eternal constitutional position of both the Lord and the living entity and the relationship between the two, which is the principle of eternal reality. This material world exists as a punishment for the living entity. That's basically why it's there. It's also there as an opportunity to rectification, as a rectification for one's deviation. Punishment is coming because of deviation. Rectification is available also within the punishment. And just like within jails, the living entity, one is put in jail for some deviation, some criminal activity. But the jails, some of them, at least theoretically, provide some rehabilitation so a person can reform from their deviant mentality, and then when they're released, they become good citizens again. So this is the material world. It has only two purposes. One, to punish the living entity for being because of its desire to be separate from the Lord and to enjoy separate from the Lord. But it also gives one an opportunity to rectify that, when we say discordant mentality, through the process of coming back to the Lord in devotional service. Otherwise, everything we do in this material world is simply a combination of the material energy in order for the living entity to somehow try to fulfill his desire to become happy here. So that's allowed also too. That, all right, you want to enjoy separate from the Lord? Here's a place where you can do it. There's no room for that in the spiritual kingdom. And so that desire forces one to take birth in this realm of illusion. Why is it illusion? Because material energy is mutable. It's always changing. All the forms are always changing. The ingredients are eternal. The ingredients, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhumir apanalobayu kamano buddha evacha ahankara ityame bina prakriti astada. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego make up my separated material energy. There's nothing outside of that in this material world, and all of the forms are simply a combination of these 8 elements. That's all. So whatever we see and come in contact with is made up of these 8 elements, or a partial manifestation of these 8 elements. And therefore it's called illusion, because none of these things are permanent. They're all temporary. And because the living entity is eternal, it tries to enjoy in this illusionary world, and therefore it becomes frustrating. And then it ends at a certain point, and then one is forced to come back again until they get it right. Just like when you go to school in the lower grades, if you're in the 5th grade and you don't pass, you have to go back into the 5th grade again, and before you can go to the 6th grade and complete your studies in the 5th grade before you can move to the 6th grade. So in the same way, before we can move out of this material world, we have to rectify this deviant mentality and want to enjoy separate from Krishna. And the rectification is not simply a stoppage of that mentality. It's simply an activity that has to bring us back, and that is the process of devotional service. So in this particular purport, Srila Prabhupada really gets into the glories of the living entity, being qualitatively one with the Supreme Lord. And all of this explanation helps us to understand our real identity as separate from this material identity which we adopt when we come into this material world. It's like when you come into say you're asked to play a part in a particular drama. So you are who you are, but then you're giving this part, you're giving lines that go along with the part you have to play. So you fully absorb yourself in the drama. You forget about who you are. You sort of identify with the part in the drama. And when the drama is over, you get back to your actual identity. In the same way, this material world is like this drama we play. It has no meaning in the sense that it doesn't really give us any fulfillment. All it does, it just helps us to somehow come to the reality that I don't belong here through the process of frustration due to the unfulfilled desires that the living entity can. And the ultimate unfulfilled desire is everyone wants to live eternally, but no one can live eternally in the material world. No, that desire no one can fulfill unless we go back to the spiritual world. We can live eternally in our real identity as qualitatively one with the Lord, who is also fully eternal in all aspects of his existence. Now, it's interesting here, we get a little insight to see that many of the qualities of the Supreme Lord, and Prabhupada gives a very interesting statement. He says that if you want to know God, try to know yourself, because many of the qualities that you have are also there within the Supreme Lord. The only difference is the quantity is different. So in the Nectar Devotion, there's a whole long list of the 50 qualities of the living entity. And those 50 qualities are there in full in the Supreme Lord. But there are, of course, additional qualities that are mentioned in that narration, which goes to 64 qualities of the Supreme Lord, which the living entity doesn't have those additional 14 qualities. Some of them are there with Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, others with Lord Narayan, but Lord Krishna is the full manifestation of those qualities. But that's not mentioned here. Prabhupada just wants to emphasize that we want to know God at least and how he acts, what is his nature, and how does he relate to the living entities in the material world. A study of one's own nature is a foundation for learning that knowledge. Of course, there is additional studies which add to a complete understanding, and that comes by understanding deeper the Vedic knowledge given, especially in Srimad Bhagavatam, describing the living entities, qualities, activities like that in relationship to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the idea of this particular verse is just to show who we really are and how we are outside of our normal position in relationship to the Lord. Although our identity remains the same, we have adopted a false identity which we consider to be real. And that's the problem. A false identity means whatever identities we adopt based on the body, and such as male, female, husband, wife, son, a citizen of a particular country, member of a particular club. The whole list goes on and on and on. This world is so full of variety also in the identities that we adopt. And people are always changing and looking for new identities to add on to their already illusionary identity, and therefore they compound their suffering in this material world. And that continues, Maya Ravase Kacho Bese. Life after life, we add on something more to our present illusion, and illusion becomes thicker. But when we come to devotional service, then we are actually getting free from the illusion and coming back to who we really are, where life is eternal, full of knowledge, and full of unlimited joy in relationship to the supreme source of our existence, the personality of Godhead, in different types of relationships that we see here in the material world. Like Prabhupada would say, in the spiritual world, you see there is lover and beloved. There is also lawless love, that is people who are married but apparently have another relationship outside of that marriage. With Krishna in the spiritual world, that is considered the highest form of transcendental happiness for the Supreme Lord and his devotees. But when we see it in the material world, as it says, the material world is simply a perverted reflection of the reality, then it becomes a source of degradation and condemnation also. And of course, parent to son, friends, serving different ways, all of that is there in the spiritual world with Krishna. But here, it's like if you had a little child, and you see, especially little girls, they want to become like their mother, so they get a little dollhouse, and they have a fake kitchen in there, and they're cooking, and they're playing with dolls, and they're acting like their mother, but in a very childish type of environment with just artificial paraphernalia. So that's what we're doing here. We're doing the same thing here. We're simply trying to imitate what's going on in the spiritual world, but there's no substance to it here. And we just waste time and just deviate from where we should be. So then here, again, this verse and both verses really help one to understand that none of this material show that we so much are attracted to and attached to is actually have any real value in relationship to our identity. It's just like sometimes you go into a place in this world. There's a thing called the lunatic asylum. In the lunatic asylum, there are people there who cannot function outside in normal life, and for various reasons, because they're considered to be without any sanity. So in there, you might find people demonstrating something other than they are. Somebody says he's Jesus Christ. Someone says he's George Washington. People identify with some great personality, and then they think that they're that person, and they act in that same way. And so these people can't function outside. So sometimes they become so detrimental both to themselves and others. They're given this place called a lunatic asylum, or sometimes we call it the crazy house, like that. And they protect themselves from becoming worse, and at the same time, they don't do damage to the rest of the society. So it's the same thing. We're all somewhat in this big lunatic asylum called the material world, and we're falsely acting according to this adaptation that we somehow identify with. But the problem is the lunatics also think they're normal, and that we have that same thing. We think everything is just normal. It's normal if you're in the lunatic asylum, but if you go outside, you'll find yourself not functioning. So the outside is the spiritual world. And so here, then, our real identity is being, and it's not only being mentioned, it's being glorified, that we are so close to the same qualities and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that we are so intimately connected to Krishna, yet somehow or other we're not aligned in our activities. Therefore, unless one seriously takes up devotional service and then restructures their consciousness in relationship to their real identity, which is to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead for the pleasure of the Lord, then we continue to have to come back life after life in these different costumes that were given called material bodies, and playing in this role that is simply contrary to our actual identity. And not only our actual identity, but our actual welfare and ultimate happiness. So, yeah. So here is these two verses are really, really so deep in transcendental knowledge. Just to read it over and over again and to try to understand it more and more is a very worthy exercise in order for us to digest more of who we actually are. Because it says here, Atma, the term Atma, which is in the translation, refers to both the Supreme Lord and the living entities. Both are free from birth and death. Both are free from deterioration, and both are free from material contamination. This is another interesting point being mentioned here. In the material world, they say that soul becomes materially contaminated. But in one sense, that is not also true. What does that mean? It means that the contamination, again, is just an illusion, because the soul never touches the material energy. The soul cannot blend with the material energy. So the soul cannot get contaminated. Just like there's a very, very nice verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the 10th canto, 14th chapter, which says that liberation and material bondage are both an illusion, because the living entity cannot become bound up by this material energy, nor can the person be liberated from it, because if you're not bound up, how can you be liberated? But then again, we talk about that in a different way, to say we are bound up and we are. What is that? It's the illusion. So once we get past the illusion and come into the reality, then material contamination and liberation no longer exists for the soul, because the soul is never tied up by the material energy, because the material energy is powerful, but the living entity is part of Krishna. And the living entity, when it connects with its part in the process of devotion, which is his actual eternal occupation, to serve the Lord is our eternal occupation, not just an occupation that exists at one time and doesn't exist at another. No, it's eternal. And therefore, that because we're not functioning in that eternal occupation, we come into the illusion that I get it contaminated and I can somehow or other free myself from this contamination. So it's interesting. There's a beautiful verse. I think it's in the 14th chapter. I think it's verse number 24 of the 14th chapter that describes this. And it's actually Lord Brahma, his prayers to Lord Krishna, describing that both contamination or bondage, the word bondage is used, and liberation are both an illusion, because the soul can never be bound up, nor can it be unbound, because it is pure spirit and has nothing to do with anything material. Just like we have nothing to do with the reality of our dreamlike state when we go to sleep at night. We take rest, the mind works in such a way as to bring up certain conceptions of our existence on a subtle level, but when we wake up in the next morning, we pretty much forget about what we dreamt, and we go on with our regular activities. So this world is, again, like a dream. It's simply the living entity is dreaming that they're whatever they are. It's just a series of dreams. That's all. It's both quite ridiculous and at the same time quite pathetic, because, or we might say quite sad, because the living entity is actually wasting its like if somebody gives you a large sum of wealth, and you simply take it and you put it in your safe or something, and you never use it. So the human form of life is that treasure to get back to our reality of eternal service to the Lord in the spiritual world, which is the perfection of one's, what we say, not perfection of existence, that exists already. It's the graduation out of the illusion. That's basically what devotional service is, to graduate out of the illusion of misidentification. Now, it's interesting. I would suggest whoever's here today listening to this class, please read this verse continuously. And if you do, let me read it over and over again, both the purport and the translation, and you'll start to understand more about who you are and what is your real identity and where is your real, how you actually are a very powerful force of existence. The soul is very powerful, but because its power has been checked by its illusionary concept of being the material body, it doesn't use its power. It uses its facilities simply to further the illusion, that's all. But the soul is powerful because it's connected with the supreme power, Sri Krishna. Okay, we can stop there and open it up for discussion.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for a wonderful class, Maharaj. If anybody have any questions or realizations, please unmute yourself and please go ahead. Sukar Krishna Prabhu, please go ahead, Prabhuji. You are on mute. Yeah, go ahead, Prabhuji.
Krishna, thank you very much. Chandramauli Maharaj, thank you very much, Maharaj. So you told about this 10.14.24, no?
I think
10 point,
I think
14 point,
it's 10.14.24. I think it is, or it could be
Okay.
26. I'm not sure. You'd
Okay,
have to look
okay.
it up. It's, I think
That's a very wonderful point you have brought,
yeah.
that it is not real, it is illusion. And the soul never gets bondage. And so it is only a drama, actually, a dream. We are not living, actually, we are dreaming.
Yeah, we're dreaming. But it's a long dream.
Hmm.
The night dream is a short dream. The daydream is a longer dream.
So the class is also going the dream class. You are trying to remind us that we are sleeping.
Well, the ingredients for waking up is the means by which we can come back to our eternal position and wake up from the dream.
Thank you,
So
Maharaj. Thank you.
when we discuss these things, we're no longer we're gradually waking up from the dream.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Seek your blessings.
Yeah, thank you so much, Maharaj. Anybody have any questions? Yeah, Krishna Kaviraj Prabhuji, please go ahead, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you and your services. My humble obeisances to all the devotees. Guru Maharaj, you said that this material world is like a prison, and the prisoners as such, we prisoners, we need to we're here to be punished, and we're here to be corrected. Guru Maharaj, the government's prisons, the prisoners there, they know that they are in prison, and they know that if they behave in a certain way, then they've got a good chance of being released earlier. But so why is it that nobody knows they're in prison? Why is it that covered from them?
That is called Maya, illusionary energy. But if we take time to reflect, nobody wants to get old, but we're forced to get old. Nobody wants disease, it comes. We forgot how miserable birth is, but if you speak to your mother, she'll tell you it's not a very pleasant thing. It's very difficult, very painful. In fact, even many women lose their life at childbirth. It's one of the leading causes of death in the United States, and women dying at childbirth. So it's not, and for the child, it's also not a very pleasant thing. When you're born, you don't come out dancing, you come out crying. And of course, everyone wants to live forever, but death is posed upon us. So if we just reflect on these four miseries, we can see that we are in a type of prison, which is giving us these forced punishments. And we try to fulfill our desires, and we can't for whatever reason. Maybe we fulfill some desires, but some other ones we can't fulfill. There's so many examples. We all have experience of unfulfilled desires, or desires that were fulfilled but no longer could give us satisfaction. So a little reflection about how the material world is working upon us will help you to understand, hey, you're in prison. You're limited. And you might be, there's just like in a prison, there are three types of prisoners. or 3 grades of prisoners. For instance, you have the 3rd-class prisoner who deviates and causes trouble within the jail and is given some added punishment. They call that solitary confinement, where the individual is placed in a very small little jail cell with no facilities at all, and they cannot go out. They have to stay there for like every day, for 6 months until their term of punishment is over within the prison, then they get back to mainstream. And the 2nd-class prisons are the mainstream prisoners, the ones that are just following the prison rule. And then you have the privileged prisoners, where you have people who have been exemplary behavior within the prison, and it's been noted, and these persons are given certain privileges in the prison. I've seen it when I go into prisons, the people who are privileged prisoners, they have some control of other prisoners. They also have access to other areas of the prison that mainstream prisoners don't have. They're trusted. So you see that in the material world also. You see people who apparently have a somewhat free from suffering life, but they're still suffering, of course, but it's not as bad as some others. And there's others who day to day can't even get food, whose life are being threatened at every minute. Just look around the world. Get beyond your limited sphere of experience and look around. You see people in tremendous suffering. Their lives are at threat. Some of them can't even find food. The starvation population of the world is in millions. Millions of people are starving for lack of just food, which is available for most people. So you see, within the prison, there are different levels of suffering, but everyone is in the prison, and everyone is undergoing some type of suffering, which means we're limited. The soul is unlimited in relationship to Krishna, in devotional, in the spiritual world. And it also becomes somewhat unlimited even in the material world when one becomes fully active in devotional service. And then by that connection with the supreme free, who is Krishna, he is supremely free. He's not bound by anything, even by his own rules. He's not bound by. He lives completely. What we say. He's called Swarat. Swarat means totally independent. We also have that quality of Swarat within us, but we are partially independent. We can never be totally. But we can also come to a level of almost totality in independence when we fully engage in devotional service. Then we're no longer under the restrictions of material energy, and the material energy is restrictive. And you see that great devotees can defy even the material energy and do things that normal people cannot do because they are still controlled by that same energy. When you're connected to Krishna, the more you're connected to Krishna, the more you're free. And when you're fully connected to Krishna in devotion, that means every moment, then you're totally free. That means there's no more death, no more disease, old age, no more rebirth. Everything is just, you're almost there in the spiritual world. Not quite. You have to die to achieve you have to give up the body, not die, but you have to give up the body to achieve the perfectional stage of the spiritual existence. And these devotees are fully happy. They're always happy. constantly. So there's different levels of imprisonment within the material world.
Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Next question, Sipleshan Prabhuji. Please go ahead, Prabhuji. Unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the assembled devotees. Maharaj, in the purport it says, yet the quality of being the supreme cause of all causes exists in the living entity as well, as in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How can we living beings or living entities be the cause of all causes? I've always understood that Krishna is the cause of all causes.
Yeah, when I read that, I was became quite thoughtful. How is that possible? But then
You
when
told quality-wise same you told. Quantity-wise different.
yeah,
Quality-wise.
yeah, that's the point. That quality-wise, we are the same as Krishna, and Krishna is the cause of all causes. So
Satchidanand.
it's only in our stage of pure consciousness that we have that quality, which is in a small proportion of our existence. That's all. It's not of the same quantity as Krishna, but it's a small proportion of that eternal quality of sarva karana karanam, cause of all causes.
Krishna is infinity.
Yeah. When you're in that pure consciousness, yeah, and then you can actually exhibit that quality to a certain degree. You can make things happen.
We also have Satchidananda, but not to his level.
Say that again.
We also have Satchit Anand, but in smaller proportion.
Yeah, that's the answer. It's in a smaller proportion, that's all.
He's ocean, we are drop of water. But same water.
So it's the pure devotee who exhibits these qualities more than us beginners or fights.
Yeah. Pure devotee also is Trikala Gyan. He knows past, present, and future. Prabhupada told us so many things when he was present that later manifested in terms of, manifested in reality. There's so many things he said. Prabhupada could look at you and know what you're thinking. You couldn't hide from Prabhupada. Even if you tried to hide your thoughts, he would be able to detect them if he wanted to. Of course, he wasn't trying to do that with everyone, but if he wanted to, devotees would say that when they met Prabhupada, I could see that he's seeing me beyond who I think I am. He knows who I really am. Yeah. I even had that experience with one of my senior god brothers, who I was thinking that certain things about him. He just turned around and looked at me and gave me an answer based on my thoughts.
Jai.
With no communication other than his response to my thoughts. And I had met other persons who had the same experience with this same personality. That was Bhakti Tirtha Swami. He was so powerful. He could detect your mentality if he wanted to. It's not like devotees make a program out of trying to find out people's minds, but if it comes up and it becomes important, it becomes revealed. And so, I mean, and he still was acting within the material body, apparently, but at the same time beyond the material body. It's like, I'll give you an example. There are many people who know just before they're going to die, they know they're going to die very soon.
Then they can chant, no, Maharaj.
Yeah.
If they know they're going to die, then they can chant, no, nicely, because then they can pass the test.
Yeah. But devotees who are very advanced, and of course, even non-devotees, sometimes they can also sense that very soon I'm going to die. There's a sense that comes. I think you might say that sense is Krishna's indication. I've seen that. One senior devotee, he was talking about it even before it happened. And then it recently happened. And there's also signs. Like one very senior devotee, he opened his door one time. He was in India, and he saw a black snake that was right at his doorstep. And then he said he understood, yes. And then one day later he died.
So then the whole day he would have chanted, no, Maharaj. He knew that death has come, he would have totally chanted, no, because he knows that he had to pass the test.
Yeah, so I'm just using the power of the mind. It goes beyond the normal reasoning understanding that we apply to the mind. Brahma, Shiva, they can know past, present, and future.
Maharaj, waking up from sleep is the self-realization. When somebody getting self-realized means they've woken up from the dream.
Well, the material dream, yeah. Self-realization means to understand who you are. But then you have to act. That's the next part. If you don't act on who you are, then you go back to the dream state again. Just like we're talking about it, we're all waking up now. We're all understanding who we are. But then when the class is over, go back to sleep again.
Wonderful, Maharaj. Thank you for your answers.
Don't go back to sleep. Stay engaged in devotional service. And remember,
thank you, Maharaj.
And remember Krishna. That's the whole point.
Thank you, Maharaj. Just a pure devotee, if you just bless all of us, we all will become more conscious, Maharaj. Your Prabhupada disciple.
If you praise me, you'll get nowhere.
Oh, Maharaj.
But if you take up the process, you'll get some better.
Okay, Maharaj. Sorry, please excuse me, Maharaj.
Don't let it happen again.
Sure, Maharaj.
Okay.
Thank you, Maharaj. Ajit Prabhu, please go ahead, Prabhuji, with your question.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Please accept Maharaj. Maharaj, thank you for a wonderful lecture. Maharaj, you mentioned two things. One regarding that we are here in this material world because of our desires. And then you spoke about devotional service. And Maharaj, when we are performing these, any sort of devotional service, especially about me, I still feel that there are desires hidden in that devotional service too. And those are like, people will say that I'm doing a good service. People will praise me for name and fame. All those desires are still there, Maharaj. How to curb our desires? How to be humble and how to perform devotional service with only a desire of pleasing Krishna, pleasing Guru Maharaj, and pleasing Vaishnavas?
Rupa Goswami explains what is pure devotional service. And he gives that explanation so we can adopt that that mentality in performing devotional service. And so that means ridding ourselves of certain motivations that come by way of activity. These motivations that come by way of activity are due to our material life. So we carry them into spiritual activities also. We have that tendency. And so what is the carrying? Well, we want to get something from the activities we perform in devotional service. We want to get some credit, some notification, some reciprocation, something, either subtle or gross. There's even devotees who will not serve unless they actually get some money for their service. In other words, they look at devotional service as a way to fulfill their material needs also. These are all mixed forms of devotional service. So Rupa Goswami calls them fruit of activities. Fruit of activities means activities with a desired result. But devotional service is ayabilasita sunyam. It's free from all of that. That means it should be done for the pleasure of the Lord or the pleasure of the Lord's devotees and with a desire to please. That's all. That's the essence of the consciousness, to do it in a pleasing way with a desire to free oneself from these false ideas that I need something to. That's material life. Material life is fruit of work. Spiritual life is activities that are done in a selfless way, not looking for anything. But a devotee knows that simply by serving the Lord, all my desires can be fulfilled automatically, simply by serving the Lord. There's two ways to fulfill a desire. One is you get rid of it, and the two is you go to a higher level of existence. Krishna consciousness is the higher level of existence. So when we act in pure consciousness, that yes, I have to serve, I'm serving the Lord for the pleasure of the Lord and for the pleasure of the Lord's devotee. That is my focus. Let me do it in the best possible way. I'm not looking for any praise, blame, rewards, presents, gifts, garlands, whatever may also come. We're simply doing it as an activity. And we know, because we're connected to Krishna in that service, there's no greater benefit that we can achieve. So we actually cheat ourselves when we bring in our material desires to devotional service, because we can't get the full benefit of that service. So serve for the sake of service. We do that sometimes when we're under obligation. Sometimes we have to do something because it has to be done. We know there's nothing in it for me, but it's still a requirement in my life. So we do that. So sometimes we can even see in the material sense that we also do something in a selfless way because it's a required obligation. That's all.
Super answer, Maharaj.
It's like, okay, to use a very simple thing, you're busy when your wife comes and says, well, I need to go someplace and I don't have a ride. Can you drive me there? And you say, oh, of course, yeah. But you're busy doing something. You give up what you're doing so you can take your wife to where she wants to go. It makes her happy, and you did it. So what's in it for you? Nothing, in the sense that you get the pleasure of serving your wife by doing it. So we get the pleasure of serving the Lord simply by taking on devotional service. It's a simple analogy.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thanks a lot.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for wonderful answer, Maharaj. It really helps everybody. Sukar Krishna Prabhu, do you have any question? I mean, I see your hand is raised, Prabhu. Maharaj.
Yeah. Maharaj, just I want to know that this Mithya Ankar, the false ego, though we are trying to get out of that, but that is not leaving us.
Yeah, that's the most subtlest and the most hard. It's the hardest one to detect because it's so subtle. The gross mistakes we made or the gross activities we perform are easily seen by ourselves and by others also. But the subtle things are hard to see. The activities of the mind and the false ego is to fulfill a certain desire based on a false sense of identity. That's all.
So how to check that? How to control that?
It's very difficult, but the best way is to just take association with devotees. When you act out of your false ego in association with devotees, it becomes quite noticeable. When you're by yourself and you're in your normal situation, you can't notice it, and other people may not even notice it either.
So devotee association.
Yeah, that's part of the solution.
Even the mind also is like a monkey, it jumps, We try to control while chanting. It's in spite of having so much desire to chant completely with, dhyan purvak, but it just goes off and it becomes a mechanical chanting.
Where's our Vardhana? Where are you? You're there.
Yes, Maharaj.
You're the host, right?
Yes, Maharaj.
Bring up Bhagavad Gita from the, let's see, what chapter is that? Chanchalahimana Krishna. Where is that verse? Something is, I think it's 934.
Yeah.
930 Manmanabha Madbhaktu. Manmanabha Madbhaktu.
No, Chanchalahimana Krishna is in 6th chapter.
What
6th chapter?
Okay.
6th
chapter. Yeah,
6.34.
Somebody read the translation.
Verse number, Prabhu.
Go ahead.
The mind is restless. The mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. O Krishna, and to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind.
Now go to the next verse to get Krishna's answer.
The individual.
No. Lord Krishna said.
Lord Krishna
said, O mighty arms, son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment.
So he gives the answer. Suitable practice means the process of pure devotional service, and detachment means stop your material activities. Stop being attached to your material activities. Perform your material activities in a detached way, that's all.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you for.
Because if you don't do that, you're just feeding that restless mind, that's all.
By detaching, automatically the mind also will subdue.
Yeah, we have our material activities, but we have to detach ourselves. We do it in a detached way. That's just a requirement.
Okay. Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Still, anybody have any questions or you'd like to share any realizations?
Amy.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavad Pranam, beautiful class. I have a question about giving and taking association. I mean, I have some friends and colleagues who are not in Krishna consciousness, but I do have some interaction with them, but with the mind that I mean, they may take the process as well. But what I find difficult is that when you are, dredging this, I would call it like dangerous waters, you may actually get some, there's a counter transference, meaning you can get kind of, I don't know if contamination is the right word. You may get their association versus giving your association. So how to kind of be careful not to get association from them versus your mind is that you are trying to give. Because as a person, like for myself, I'm not so grounded and not so strong that I can protect myself.
Well, first of all, somebody asked, well, what does it mean to be in association? And then the answer is affection for. So you develop a certain affection for that person in that association. It's not full blown, but there is certain affection. So that brings about a type of association. So we say, keep your affection for those persons who are Krishna conscious or devotees, and keep your relationship with those who are not routine. Routine means you carry on the business that you have to do with that person, but you don't go deeper into that relationship, because as soon as you do, your value system will be threatened. You'll start to hear things and maybe even agree with things that are contrary to the values and the practice of Krishna consciousness. So it's more like an official type of interaction with people who are not devotees. Becomes official. Where with devotees becomes more affectionate and more intimate.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
You just have to practice that, and just be careful not to go beyond a certain, protocol in that relationship. If they're going to invite you to their parties or talk about their personal life, you need to somehow or other distance yourself from that. So generally, we say keep your friendship with devotees. And then you won't find yourself in that. If you have to do business on the outside in order to maintain material activities within the family, then you might develop some friendly relationship with the guy who's in the supermarket who you see every time when you go buying some groceries. But you just keep it friendly and official. That's it.
Don't talk more.
Not necessary, but we are social beings. That's the thing. We have to find that social outlet within the society of devotees.
So Maharaj, then how do we bring them to Krishna consciousness if that is something we want to do? So
then that's what you said. You said we have to give them our association. And we explain, what we're about, and not so much hearing about what they're about. You might hear about what they're about in order to respond to them up to a certain point. But when they start talking about their personal life, then unless you're doing it in a way to counsel them, in that. But if you're doing that, if it's just an equal exchange of ideas, then they're going to try to present their life to you as something that is important, interesting, something you might benefit. They might want to give to you. They want to share with you their personal experiences in their sense gratification activities like that. That's what they usually do. Or they get into a lot of people get into talking about things that are completely useless. They're always talking about somebody. Called Gramya Katha.
Gramya Katha, romantic Katha.
Yeah, that's very true, Maharaj. Thank you. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Super answers.
I think nobody have any questions further, Maharaj. Anybody wants to ask any questions to Maharaj? Okay. If nobody have any questions, can we end the call here, Maharaj?
You're in charge.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for a wonderful class, Maharaj. We are very grateful.
Thank you for today's class. Hare Krishna.
Shamagari Mata is there.
Shamagari Mataji. Yeah. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for your wonderful class. We are very grateful to you, Maharaj, and we look forward for your association regularly in the future. Thank you so much. Let us pray obeisances to Maharaj and all.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Very wonderful class and very nice question answer. Thank you so much for your Krishna.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much for the class. Wonderful class.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Kalpatarusha kripa sindhu bhyo patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah koti vaishnava jai Srila Prabhupada ki Bhagavatam
His Holiness
Jai
Chandramauli
Ho,
Ki
Gauranga,
Jai.
Nityananda, Nityananda,
Hare Krishna. Thank
Nityananda,
you,
Gauranga,
Maharaj.
Jai Shri Radhe Shyam, सबको मेरे वृंदावन
राधे
धाम,
राधे
गोवर्धन गिरधारी लाल की जय हो, मायापुर धाम
राधे
की जय हो,
राधे
पुरुष राधे राधे.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Thank you. Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you very much, Shamagari Mataji.
राधे राधे
राधे राधे.